team that's the model team. It's the most prestigious award. It best represents the purpose of FIRST. So any team that has sustained excellence over a long period of time, over many years, has helped their community, has helped other teams, has grown and sustained what they've accomplished for a long period of time, that's considered a model team. And it's not just about a robot. We could compete well at competitions via a robot, but even teams that aren't great, don't have great robots, can win the Chairman's Award too, as long as they've made a positive, measurable impact in their community. And this is a more specific thing, but in Chairman's only includes items. It says 5 there, but recently it's been changed to the only 3 years. So even though our team has sustained excellence for a long time and we've done a lot of things over the last 20 years, we can only include things from the last 3 years.
Yeah. So when we're submitting our Chairman's Award, there's a couple of components that we have to submit. One of the first components is our essay, which includes both the executive summary and an actual essay. So the executive summary is just a series of questions that we have to answer in about 150 words. I think that's the limit. And you can use this executive summary as a guide to organize your essay. Essentially, what you want to talk about in the executive summary and the essay is how your team was able to spread FIRST and STEAM within your community. So you would basically discuss all your initiatives, events, and all your programs that you do as a team, how they impact the community, and how they impact, for example, younger generations and things like that. One thing that you want to emphasize is while you're writing these essays, you want to make sure to categorize information. You could split them up into team history, demographics, outreach, FIRST affiliation, sustainability, all of that. Another thing that you really want to emphasize is including a lot of statistics. So over the years, we've gathered a lot of statistics about how many sponsors we have, how many total team members, how many total alumni, and essentially what the judges want to see is how those statistics came to life. And you want to include them to essentially show your impact and how much of a change you've made to your community. You can also include things like quotes, key phrases, all of that are unique to your team as well.
Yep. So the second component to the chairman's to what we submit is the presentation. So the essay is something that we submit before the competition even begins, and the presentation is basically something that we prepare for the judges at the competition. So we have a group of 3 people that will be selected via tryouts later in the season, but they'll basically present a presentation that's 7 minutes long, and then the judges at the competition will ask us questions about our team for about 5 minutes. And so the presentation is essentially going to cover the main components of the essay. So the essay is much longer. It's 10,000 characters. We go over in depth all the different events, activities, initiatives that we do. But the presentation, we really just focus on our core initiatives, our core events, the main things that we've done to make a positive impact in our community and for other robotics teams. And when we are later in the year, when we do the tryouts for the presenters, we'll ask that the presenters prepare and have extensive knowledge on the team and have the ability to think fast and answer questions impromptu and on the spot. And we'll talk more about tryouts and how new members, freshmen, sophomores can get involved in this process later in the year.
One thing I wanted to add about the presentation team was that we have our 3-people group that present the actual presentation, but we do have a backup chairman's team, and this team essentially just, they don't get to present unless there's some extenuating circumstances, but this team gets an exposure to presenting, and they'll learn the same things that the actual presentations go through, presenters go through and get the same training. So they're more prepared for upcoming years when they do get the chance to present. But again, we'll be hosting tryouts. All right, so the last component for chairmans is the video. Know that this does not at all account for any of the judging. So I don't think judges even get to see the video when they're looking at your team overall. But essentially, this is for other teams to recognize you and see why you actually deserve to win that award. So throughout the season, we want to take lots of pictures and videos and graphics that we can put into this chairman's video. Another thing is that from our past season, the one that we just finished, we actually just uploaded our chairman's video to our YouTube channel today. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, We also have, I believe, recordings of our actual chairman's presentation from this past year. So if you're interested in that, you could check that out on our YouTube channel.
All right. So along with the video, the essay, and the presentation, another chairman's component that's not actually a part of the judging, but is something that is considered is pit presenting. So at our pit, at the competition, we'll have a couple people, both on the engineering side of the team and on the business side of the team. And throughout the competitions, judges will come around to our pits and ask some of our members specific questions about our team. And so this is mostly for the judges to fact check and make sure that there aren't any discrepancies between what we've claimed we've done and what our members in the pits are saying that we've done as well. And it's also for them to interact with people that aren't just prepared for this chairman style of presenting and just general people on our team, and get an understanding of what they've done on our team and their role on the team. And people in the pit should also be knowledgeable and have a deep understanding of the team, but there won't necessarily be training the same way that the chairman's presenters will be training.
We will be training rookie members in specific about pit presenting later on, like towards the build season and competition season, as we get closer to that. But they are really important for you guys to develop just your overall improv skills for you to build that foundational knowledge that you need about our team. So yeah, sorry, go ahead. Another thing that chairman's judges use to fact check is chairman's documentation. There's two different types of chairman's documentation, which I don't think are listed here, but they're essentially collective documents to organize all of our team's events and activities. Business team especially, we went through the specifics of all of our documentation yesterday, and we actually had everyone go through and make a sample impact magazine, and that's one of our chairman's documentations. So it lists out everything that our team does, all of our initiatives and all our programs, and basically a summary of it. This is given to judges and also the overall public at events. It should be original and creative and should also be modified throughout the season. Another thing that I wanted to add about the documentation is that this hasn't been done over the past 2 years because of the pandemic. They actually took out this requirement, but there is something that we have to submit in addition to all of our essays and presentation, which is essentially like a chairman's fact check document. And like Shri said, with the purpose of taking the purpose of pit presenting in mind, it's essentially to check that what we claim to do, we actually did. So we can say that we went to the Michigan State Fair, but what proof do we have? So that's why we take all these pictures, and that's why we keep record of everything to put towards these documentations that we also have to submit to judges.
Yep. So now those are all the different things that we submit. Now let's talk about some of the components of success to winning the Chairman's Award. So in the last 5 years, we've consistently been winning chairmans at our district level by our qualifiers like the Troy qualifier or the St. Joseph qualifier. And also we've won at the Michigan State Championship 3 times in 2019, 2020, and 2021. So we'll talk about some of the things that we do in order to ensure that we are contesting well for the Chairman's Award. So there's 3 main things. There's team dynamics, there's first involvement, and there's the community. So team dynamics, we want to make sure that we are recruiting individuals and we're training them well. And so on our team, we have a leadership structure that allows us to train all of our members and make sure that and at any year, if there's less members joining in a specific year, we always have other leads or experienced members to fill in that gap of knowledge. We also work with our school community. We work with TSD and our partners in the school to ensure that we have a space to work, to ensure that we can attend school events, etc. We also are very involved in FIRST. We mentor other teams. We mentor teams in Troy, FIRST, FLL teams, FTC teams, and FRC teams. And during a regular year, we also host competitions like SharkFest and Sharknado. And then community, we do many different outreach events. We advocate for greater STEAM funding in our district, in our city, and in our state and nationally. And we just participate in betterment events like last week when we went to Adopt a Road to clean up 2 local roads.
Yeah, so just going into the specifics of team dynamics, I just want to talk a little bit about what that actually is. So team dynamics is how your team operates internally. So this goes back to your recruitment, training, how you handle rookies, how you distribute tasks evenly within your team. You have to emphasize this to your judges, and you want to show that you're making a strong and considerable impact on every single team member and in your actual community. So chairman's winning teams are the ones that teach their members a wide range of skills. So kind of like we're giving you the opportunity to be a part of both business and engineering. Chairman's winning teams really stress a interdisciplinary skill set. So that's why we want to give all students exposure to as many things in the first field as possible. Another thing that consists of team dynamics is student-led initiatives and development of interpersonal skills, like I mentioned. So public speaking and professional writing. This is something that all of you guys are going to be exposed to, especially when we go to events. We do have a couple of them coming up, or a couple of them that we need to schedule, but hopefully all the new rookies, you'll be able to go to our events in the future eventually, and you'll see how we kind of talk to people at events about FIRST and STEAM, and this is a very, very big component of FIRST. Another thing that Shri mentioned was within team dynamics, they also really focus on our relationship with partners and sponsors. So one of our team's really big sponsors is the Troy School District, and they help us establish large-scale events and overall help us change the perception of STEM for students who might not be a part of the robotics team. And we do this by hosting competitions and also creating curriculum for the school district.
So now let's talk about FIRST involvement. So one of the most important aspects of standing out in FIRST is helping all the different levels of FIRST. So there's 3 primary levels of FIRST: FLL, FTC, and FRC. FLL, which can be broken down into multiple subcategories. But in a regular year, our team does everything that we can to support all these different levels. So we, as I mentioned earlier, we host competitions like SharkFest for the elementary level, Sharknado for FTC, and then we also have a competition for FRC, our Troy qualifier, that we host at our own high schools. And aside from just hosting competitions, we also have many of our members act as student mentors for FLL and FTC teams via TYR Troy Youth Robotics. And so our members are encouraged to volunteer at all these different activities, these community outreach activities, these competitions, advocacy events, in order to, as Tanisha mentioned, spur up greater interest for involvement in FIRST, greater interest for involvement in engineering and STEAM, and just change the perception of what it means to be a part of FIRST in Troy.
So there is a question in the chat. It says, does FIRST involvement have to be in a group, or can you do something in the name of Hammerheads individually? So everything that we claim to do as the Hammerheads should be done by the entire group. So say maybe you on your own held a charity drive or a blood drive or something, or a fundraiser. We cannot claim that the Hammerheads have done that. It has to be a team initiative, and a lot of our members have to be participating in it, and we can't say that something you did is something that is of the Hammerheads, if that makes sense. So moving on to community. We attend a lot of outreach events throughout our local community, and this is essentially to promote the growth of STEM in FIRST, which is something that Chairman's really focuses on. It's important for your team to not only advocate at the local level, but also spread that out to the state and national level. And we've done this in the past by attending the Michigan Advocacy Conferences and the National Advocacy Conferences. And so if you guys aren't familiar with what that is we talk to our state legislators. Like recently, we got an opportunity to talk to the office of Representative Haley Stevens, Lisa McClain. We got to talk to our senators, Gary Peters, Debbie Stabenow, and we got to talk to them about how important FIRST and STEM is in our respective communities and encourage them to continue funding these STEM programs. So Chairman's really wants to see us make a considerable impact, and we can also do this by helping our community by doing Adopt a Road cleanups like we did this past weekend, attending peaceful protests, or even attending town halls or other types of government meetings. But yeah, I think that was it for our Chairman's 101 kind of presentation for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. I just want to give you guys another note about how these general team meetings are going to work in the future. So just because it's boot camp right now, that's why we're trying to give you guys as much general info during these meetings where we all get together. But in the future, after boot camp is over, we will be having weekly meetings. But during that time, we won't be going over information like this. We'll be going over updates and actual reminders that pertain to the entire team. Just because it's boot camp right now, we're just kind of going over some general info that all of you guys should know. But just so you know that. Mr. Tu, I think we're good for our presentation for right now.
Let me just share something with the group. Hold on a second. So let me share my screen. Hey, can everyone see my screen? All right. So this is the prospective members home page that we included in the email. I'm working on posting this on our website so everybody could see it easier, but currently it's just linked from your email. We are now starting to post presentation links as well as video recordings. So do check it. If you do miss a date and you want to review what was presented, please come back to this page. There are also other team informations that you'll find helpful. Any questions? All right, then we will adjourn for now, and the 5:30 p.m. engineering meeting will start in 10 minutes. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.